My driving instructor looked at me, her hand light on the dashboard, and said, "Ease into it, Ryan." The way she said it made my chest tighten, because it felt like she was talking about a lot more than the gas pedal. "My name is Ryan. I am 24 and living in a small studio apartment in Los Angeles, not far from Koreatown. I work as a junior video editor for a social media agency, which sounds cooler than it is. Most days I cut clips of people unboxing things and fake laughing at the camera. It pays the rent, keeps instant noodles in the cupboard, and leaves me just enough left over for cheap coffee and the occasional late-night taco. I have a confession. I am one of those adults who never learned to drive. In LA, that is almost a crime. Everyone here has a car, or at least a story about their car. I have stories about bus routes and ride-share surge prices. When I was a kid, my dad was supposed to teach me how to drive. He promised he would. Then one day he packed a bag, walked out, and never came back. After that, anything to do with cars felt like his thing, not mine. My mom took the bus to work, and I followed her lead. For a while, I could get away with it. I took the bus, I rode with friends, I used apps. But recently, my boss started sending me to shoots in places the bus might as well ignore. Last month, I missed a call time because my ride share canceled twice. My boss pulled me aside and said, "Look, man, we need you to drive. Get your license or we will have to find someone who can show up on time without drama." That hit hard, so I did what I had been putting off for years. I Googled driving schools near me and ended up at one called Silverline Driving Academy. It was in a faded strip mall between a laundromat and a taco spot, with a sign that buzzed when the lights came on. Not exactly inspiring, but I booked a package of lessons anyway. The first day, I walked into the tiny office, palms sweaty, heart doing double time. The waiting room was cramped, with cracked leather chairs and a stack of car magazines from 3 years ago. A fan in the corner pushed warm air in a lazy circle. The guy at the front desk handed me a clipboard, grunted something about signing here, and went back to his phone. I was sitting there scrolling through emails to look busy when I heard the door open. I looked up and saw her. She walked in from the parking lot with a set of keys in her hand, the sun behind her. She wore dark jeans, a simple white blouse, and a light denim jacket. Her brown hair was pulled into a loose, low ponytail with a few strands escaping around her face. She looked like she had just walked out of a coffee shop ad, not a worn-out driving school. "Ryan?" she asked, her voice calm and clear. "That is me," I said, jumping up a little too fast. She smiled, small but warm. "I am Claire. I will be your instructor." She looked like she was in her early 40s, lines around her eyes that did not make her look old, just like she had lived through some things and learned how to stand taller because of them. There was no ring on her finger. Not that I was checking. Okay, I was. We shook hands. Her grip was steady, not too firm, not soft. "First time behind the wheel?" she asked as we walked outside. "Pretty much," I said. "I mean, I have held a controller. That is about it." She laughed. "Well, it is a little different, but I have seen worse. Come on. Let's start slow." Her car was a silver Toyota Corolla with the school's logo on the side and a second brake pedal on her side. I slid into the driver's seat and tried not to think about all the ways I could ruin this. The seat smelled like fabric cleaner and something softer under it, maybe her shampoo. The steering wheel felt huge in my hands. Claire settled into the passenger seat, buckled her seatbelt, and set a clipboard on her lap. "All right," she said. "Feet on the pedals, left foot off to the side, right foot does the work. Seat adjusted?" I fumbled with the lever. The seat slid forward too far, and my knees hit the wheel. She reached over and pushed it back a notch. Her hand brushed my leg for half a second, light and quick, but enough to send a jolt up my spine. "Just there," she said. "Better?" "Yeah," I said, hoping my face was not as hot as it felt. She walked me through the basics: mirrors, signals, gear shift. My head felt full and empty at the same time. "Okay," she said. "Foot on the brake. Turn the key." The engine woke with a low hum. My heart tried to match it. I stared straight ahead at the empty parking lot. Painted lines stretching out like a test I had not studied for. "Now," she said, "ease your foot off the brake and press the gas a little. Slowly. Ease into it." Her tone was soft, but the words hit deeper. Ease into it. Something about the way she said it made my hands tighten on the wheel. I did what she said. The car rolled forward in a shaky line. We crept across the lot. I turned the wheel too hard and felt the back of the car sway. "Good," she said, not panicking, not grabbing the wheel. "Now straighten out. There you go." We spent an hour doing circles in that lot. I stalled once. I hit the curb twice. Each time, I braced for frustration, for a sigh, for the sharp edge I was used to from coaches and teachers who thought I should get everything right the first time. Claire never raised her voice. When I messed up, she would say, "Okay, let's try that again," in this even tone that made it feel like failing was part of the plan, not the end of the world. When I did something right, she noticed. "That turn was smoother," she said once. "See what happens when you trust yourself." By the end of the lesson, my shirt stuck to my back, my hands ached, and my brain felt like mush. But I had driven. Not in a game. Not in a dream. In a real car, in a real lot, with a real person beside me who did not seem to doubt me. I parked in the space she pointed to, shifted into park, and let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "You did good," she said, checking a box on her clipboard. "I almost hit that pole," I said. "You did not," she replied. "Almost does not count. Besides, you caught it. That is what matters." I looked at her. At the tiny smile, lines by her mouth. At the way she held the clipboard like it was light. At the calm in her eyes. "Thanks," I said. She met my gaze and held it a little longer than I expected. "You are welcome, Ryan." For a second, the car felt smaller, the air thicker. I dropped my eyes to the dashboard before I could read too much into it. "When is your next lesson?" she asked. "Whenever you think I need one," I said. "Which is probably soon." She laughed, a soft sound that made my chest feel warm. "Let us say Thursday, same time, and do not stress about it. You are not as bad as you think." We stepped out of the car. The late afternoon sun hit me in the face. The asphalt shimmered with heat. She locked the doors and turned back to me. "Remember," she said, "you do not have to force it, with driving and with everything else. Ease into it." The words stuck in my head as I walked to the bus stop. Ease into it, everything else. I kept hearing her voice, calm and sure, under the roar of the city buses and the hum of traffic. On the ride home, I stared out the window at the endless line of cars on the freeway and thought about how it felt to have someone in the passenger seat who believed I could do this. Someone who listened when I talked. Someone whose hand on my shoulder had made that panic on the first turn fade. It was just one lesson, just one afternoon in a school car. But as I sat in my small studio that night, the city lights blinking outside my window, I knew I was not just thinking about driving. I was thinking about Claire, the way she said my name, the way she said ease into it, and the way that simple line made me wonder what else she wanted me to stop running from. By the second week, my life started to form a new rhythm. Work, cheap dinners, late nights staring at a screen, and then those hours on the lot with Claire. Tuesdays and Thursdays stopped feeling like normal days. They felt like something I was waiting for. Lesson 2 started with me feeling a little less like I might kill us both. I walked into the Silverline office, and before I could sit down, Claire stepped in from the lot, keys in hand. "Right on time," she said. "Good sign for someone who wants to drive in LA. "Trying to impress you," I said, then realized how that sounded. I mean, impress the DMV. She smiled like she heard both. "We will work on both." Out in the lot, the air was warm, but not brutal yet. I slid into the driver's seat, and she settled beside me. The car already felt a little familiar. The faint fabric smell, the way the wheel sat under my hands, the shape of her in my side vision. "We are going to leave the lot today," she said, buckling her seatbelt. "Side streets, nothing crazy. You ready?" My stomach dropped. Ready is a strong word. She turned slightly in her seat, eyes on my face. "Nervous is okay," she said. "You can be nervous and still do the thing. That is kind of the point." I took a breath and nodded. "Okay, side streets, not the freeway. I can live with that." We pulled out of the lot. I checked my mirrors 3 times. She watched me, not in a judging way, but like she wanted to see how I handled the small things. We turned onto a quiet street lined with single-story houses and palm trees. A kid on a bike rolled past, his backpack bouncing. "You grew up here?" she asked as I eased us to a stop at a four-way sign. "Not far," I said. "Couple miles east. Same buses. Same traffic. Less palm trees." "Did you ever think about leaving?" she asked. I rolled forward when it was my turn, hands tight on the wheel. "All the time," I said. "Then rent prices in other places started to look worse than traffic here." She laughed, her hand resting near the emergency brake. "Fair point." She guided me through turns, telling me when to slow down, when to give more gas, when to ignore the guy behind us who honked even though I was doing the speed limit. "LA drivers are impatient," she said. "You cannot let their panic become yours." "Pretty sure that guy hates me," I said. "He will hate the next person in 30 seconds, she replied. "You are not special in that way. Relax." We drove in circles through side streets for almost an hour. At some point, I realized I had stopped thinking about every breath. My hands were still firm on the wheel, but not locked. We passed a small park where a couple sat on a bench, their heads close together. For a moment, I wondered if Claire ever did that. If anyone sat with her, just to sit. When we pulled back into the lot, I parked mostly straight. She clicked her pen, glanced at her notes, then at me. "That was a big jump from day one," she said. "How does it feel?" I leaned back in the seat and let out a slow breath. "Less like I am on a roller coaster I cannot get off," I said. "More like I am just bad at a video game I will eventually beat." "Good," she said. "You are allowed to be bad at something new. Most people forget that." I watched her for a second. "Do you forget that?" She looked down at her clipboard. "Sometimes," she said. "I used to think if I was not perfect at something on the first try, it meant I should not have started at all. My ex was very good at making me feel that way." I frowned. "He sounds great." Her mouth curved, but her eyes did not. "He is someone else's problem now," she said, "and I get to teach people who are brave enough to start anyway." There was a pause. The late morning light came in through the windshield, making her eyes look lighter. "Do you have time after this?" she asked suddenly. "I need coffee. And you look like you could use something that is not gas fumes." "Yeah," I said before my brain could catch up. "I do not have to be at work until 2. "Good," she said. "There is a place around the corner. You drive. I will ride." The idea of driving her somewhere that was not part of a lesson made my heart kick, but I turned the key anyway. We pulled onto the street, and a couple of minutes later we were in the tiny lot of a narrow coffee shop wedged between a print shop and a nail salon. Inside it was cool and dim, with mismatched chairs and a chalkboard menu. The air smelled like espresso and sugar. We stood in line, close enough that I could feel the warmth from her arm. "Usual?" she asked. "You talk like I have a usual," I said. She tilted her head. "Black rock, right? You said you like it simple." I blinked. "You remembered." "I pay attention," she said. Something about that made my chest go tight in a good way. "Black then," I said, "and whatever you are getting." We sat at a small table by the window. She wrapped her hands around her cup, fingers long and steady. "So, video editor," she said. "That sounds exciting." "It sounds better than it feels," I said. "Sometimes it is cool. You get to shape how people see something, but most of the time it is just cutting out dead air and trying to make people who are not funny seem funny." "Why did you start?" she asked. I stared at the swirl in my coffee. "I used to film stuff with my phone when I was a kid," I said. "Little clips. My friends messing around, my mom cooking. I liked turning it into something that felt like a story. Something that made sense. When I edited it, I could choose what to show and what to leave out. It was the only thing that felt controllable." She nodded slowly. "When your dad left," she said quietly, "you did not get a say in that story." I looked up at her, surprised. "How did you know?" "You mentioned him once last lesson," she said. "The way you said it, I recognized it." "Recognized what?" I asked. "That sound people make when they talk about the first time someone important walked away," she said. Her eyes were on mine now, steady and soft. There was no pity there, just understanding. "What about you?" I asked. "You said X earlier." "He just left?" Quote, she took a sip of her drink, thinking. "He left in pieces," she said. "First his attention, then his time, then his respect. By the time he came home with a suitcase and told me he was done, I realized I had been alone for a long time already." My stomach twisted. "I am sorry." She shrugged one shoulder. "I am not," she said. "Not anymore. It hurt. It wrecked things. But it gave me a chance to start over. To figure out who I was when I was not trying to be small enough for someone else's comfort." I watched her, the way she said it like it was just fact, not a line. "Not drama, just truth. You do not seem small now," I said. Her lips curved. "That is the idea," she said. "I am still learning." We sat there for a moment, the sound of milk steaming and quiet talk around us filling the gaps. "You know," she said, "I like you as a student." "That is good," I said. "I like feeling like I am not about to die every time I touch the wheel." She shook her head, a real smile breaking through. "I like that you are honest," she said. "You do not pretend you are not scared. You show up anyway. That matters more than the number of cones you hit." I felt heat behind my eyes for a second, surprised by it. I covered it with a sip of coffee. "Do you like all your students?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. "I like most of them," she said. "Some are just here because their parents paid. Some think they already know everything, and some are trying to learn how to be in control of something for the first time in their life." Her gaze held mine. "Those are my favorite," she added. I knew I was one of those. The thought made my chest feel too tight and too open at the same time. We finished our coffee and walked back to the car. As we reached it, she stopped and turned to me. "Ryan," she said, "there is something I want you to remember. About driving, and maybe about other things too." "Okay," I said. "You do not have to slam your way into the parts of your life that scare you," she said. "You are allowed to ease into them, to take time, to feel your way through. That does not make you weak, it makes you careful." The sun caught the edges of her hair. A breeze moved across the lot, warm and dry. "Why do I feel like you are not just talking about left turns?" I asked. She smiled, small and knowing. "Because you are not just here to pass a test," she said. "You are trying to prove something to yourself." She unlocked the car and handed me the keys. "Thursday," she said. "Same time, we will take the next step." On the bus ride home, the city rolled past in streaks of color and glass. I leaned my head against the window and replayed her words, her laugh, the way her eyes softened when she talked about starting over. I had signed up to learn how to drive so I would not lose my job. Somewhere between the lot and the coffee shop, something else had started to move. I was easing into it, whatever it was, and I had no idea where it was going to take me. By the third week, the car did not feel like a stranger anymore. It felt like a small moving room, where the world went quiet, and it was just me, the road, and Claire's voice beside me. We had moved past parking lots and sleepy side streets. Now we were in real traffic. Real drivers, real chances to mess up. That Thursday, when I walked into Silverline, the guy at the front desk barely looked up. But Claire did. She was standing by the door with the keys already in her hand, like she had been waiting. "Big day," she said. "Big how?" I asked, trying not to sound nervous. "Highway," she said. My stomach dropped. "You are kidding." She shook her head, smiling, but her eyes were serious. "You are ready, and I am right there with you. We will ease into it." There it was again. Ease into it. My brain hooked on the way she said it. Outside, the sun was bright, but the air had that dry LA feel that always made my throat a little tight. I slid into the driver's seat. My hands settled on the wheel like they knew where to go. Claire sat beside me, clipping her seatbelt. "We will warm up on the side streets," she said. "Then we will take the on-ramp. No big deal." "No big deal," I repeated, even though it felt like a very big deal. We pulled out, and I tried to focus on the basics. Mirror. Signal. Lane position. The city moved around us. People on bikes. Dogs pulling leashes. Parents with strollers. "Take a right at the light," Claire said. Then follow the signs for the freeway." My chest tightened. "This feels illegal," I said, "letting me anywhere near a freeway." "If it were illegal, I would have a much less boring job," she said. "You are fine, Ryan. You have good instincts. You just do not trust them yet." The green freeway sign appeared ahead. We rolled toward the on-ramp. Cars rushed by overhead, a low roar like waves. "Okay," she said. "Blinker on. Check your mirrors. Remember, you are not forcing your way into traffic. You are joining the flow. Ease into it." I swallowed hard. My palms slicked. I flipped the signal. I checked my mirrors so many times I lost count. "Pick up your speed," she said calmly. "You need to be close to their pace. That is how they let you in." The ramp curved. The lane opened up. Cars rushed past on my left. I felt very small, very fast. "I do not see a gap," I said, my voice tight. "You do not need a perfect one," she answered. "Just a good enough one. Look again. Not just with your eyes. Feel it. You can do this." There was a moment where everything lined up. A blue sedan passed. A white SUV was still a ways back. The lane between them looked like a door half open. "Now," she said quietly. I took a breath and turned the wheel, giving the car more gas. We slid into the lane. No horns. No squealing tires. Just motion. "You did it," she said. I realized I had been holding my breath. I let it out in a shaky laugh. "Oh my God." "Eyes on the road," she reminded me, but there was a smile in her voice. We stayed on the freeway for a few exits. My shoulders were up around my ears. Every time a truck passed, I flinched inside, but I kept the car steady. Claire gave small directions. "Adjust a little left. Keep some space between you and the car in front. Do not stare at the speedometer." After a few minutes, something strange happened. The panic did not spike. It flattened out. The sound of the road settled into a rhythm. The cars around us became less like threats and more like part of a pattern I could read. "See?" she said softly. "Your body is learning. You can be scared and still in control." We took the next exit and pulled onto a quiet road. She pointed to a turn into a small overlook lot on a hill above the city. I turned in and parked facing the view. Below us, Los Angeles stretched out. Buildings, streets, tiny moving dots of cars. The sky was hazy, the sun starting to tilt toward late afternoon. "We are taking a break," she said. "I am good," I lied. "I can keep going." "I know you can," she said. "That is why you do not have to prove it right this second." We sat there in the car, the engine ticking as it cooled. "You did really well," she added. "I felt like I was about to die," I said. "You did not," she replied. "You breathed, you listened, you moved when you needed to. That is more than a lot of people do on that road." I looked at her. Her hair had loosened from the low ponytail. A few strands framed her face. The light from the window caught the faint lines at the corners of her eyes. She looked tired in a way that made her seem more human, not less. "Do you ever freak out?" I asked. "About driving," she said. "Not much anymore." "About life? All the time." I smiled. "What does freaking out look like for you?" Last week it looked like me standing in my kitchen staring at a broken cabinet door and wondering how I was going to fix one more thing by myself, she said, looking out at the city. "I almost called my ex. Then I remembered he broke more than he fixed." "What did you do?" I asked. She laughed, small and real. "I looked up a video. Bought a cheap drill, screwed the hinge back in. Felt like a superhero for 10 minutes. "You kind of are one," I said before I could stop myself. She turned her head. "What?" "You show up for people who are scared," I said. "You sit beside them while they try something that could go really wrong. And you make them feel like they have a chance anyway. That feels pretty heroic to me." She studied my face for a second like she was trying to decide if I meant it. Then her shoulders lowered a little. "That is kind of you to say," she said quietly. "Most days I just feel like I am trying not to mess anyone up more than they already are." Quote, "You are not messing me up," I said. "If anything, you are doing the opposite." The car went quiet. The air felt thick, but not heavy. The city below us pulsed, but inside the car, it felt still. "Ryan," she said, her voice softer than I had ever heard it. "What you said last week. About driving, being about trust for you, about your dad. I have been thinking about that." My heart started pounding. "Yeah?" She looked down at her hands, then back at me. "I do not want you to transfer all of that onto me," she said. "I am your instructor. I care about you doing well. I care about you being safe, but I do not want to become the person you are afraid of disappointing in the same way." Her honesty hit like cool water. "I do not see you like that," I said slowly. "I mean, I want you to be proud of me. I like that you are here, but this feels different than with him." "How?" she asked. "With him, I felt like I had to earn every bit of attention," I said. "With you, I feel like you see me before I do anything. It makes me want to do better, but not because I am afraid you will walk away if I fail." She watched me, eyes bright, like the words were hitting something inside her too. "Good," she said quietly. "That is good." There was a pause, the kind of pause where something could happen. A step forward, a step back. My heart was racing. The words were right there, just behind my teeth. "I like you." Not just as a teacher, not just as someone in the passenger seat. As a woman, as someone I think about when I am not here. But I remembered what she had said in the coffee shop, about her ex, about feeling small, about starting over slow. I thought about the title of my whole mess of a life right now. Learning to drive. Learning to not rush into something just because the feeling was strong. Claire turned back to the windshield, her hands folded in her lap. "Let us head back," she said gently. "You did great today. We do not have to stretch the moment until it breaks." I nodded, both relieved and a little disappointed. I started the car. We drove back down the hill in silence, but it was not a cold silence. It felt like both of us trying to breathe around something big. When we pulled back into the Silverline lot, she marked a few notes on her clipboard. "You are closer to the test than you think," she said. "A few more sessions and we will book it." "Really?" I asked. "Really," she said. "You are more ready than you feel." I stepped out of the car. The air felt different on my face after the quiet of the overlook. Claire came around to the front of the car, keys in hand. "Hey, Ryan," she said. "Yeah?" "That thing I told you," she said, "about easing into the parts of your life that scare you." "Yeah," I said. "I remember." Her eyes held mine. "It goes for your heart too," she said. Before I could answer, another student pulled up. She gave me a small nod and walked toward them, her instructor smile back in place. On the bus home, the city looked the same as it always did. But I felt different. The freeway did not seem like a monster anymore, and the way Claire had said those last words sat in my chest like a secret. She was not just talking about the car, and I had a feeling the real test coming up had less to do with the DMV and more to do with what I was going to do about her. The week before, my driving test felt like living in two different movies at the same time. In one, I was just a guy getting ready for a DMV exam, practicing parallel parking with traffic cones my neighbor lent me, watching YouTube videos about three-point turns like they were blockbuster films. In the other, I was replaying every look, every word Claire and I had shared in that car on the hill. You do not have to slam your way into the parts of your life that scare you. Ease into it. It goes for your heart too. Those lines were stuck in my head like a song. Our next lesson was our last before the test. When I walked into Silverline that day, my stomach was a knot. Some of it was nerves about the exam. The rest was her. Claire was by the door, clipboard tucked under her arm, keys in hand. She smiled when she saw me, and for a second, everything inside me quieted down. "Big week," she said. "Yeah," I answered. "No pressure or anything?" "There is always pressure," she said. "You just learn how to breathe around it." We did a final run-through, side streets, a bit of freeway, parallel parking between cones in an empty part of the lot. My hands were steadier than they had ever been. My brain did not feel like it was on fire. "You have improved a lot," she said as I backed into a space, straightening the wheel. "How do you feel?" "Like my heart is in my throat," I said, "but in a good way." She laughed, the sound soft. "That is normal." I parked and put the car in park. The lot was quiet. No other students around. The sun was lower. casting long shadows across the asphalt. "Claire?" I said. "Yeah?" After the test, I started, then stopped. "I mean, once I am not your student anymore, do we just pretend this was only about driving?" She did not answer right away. Her fingers tapped lightly against the clipboard, a small rhythm. "What do you want?" she asked finally, not looking at the paper, but at me. My throat went dry. "I do not know exactly," I said. "I just know that those hours in this car felt different than anything has in a long time. Not just because I learned how to use a turn signal. Because of you. And I do not like the idea of that just ending because I can pass a test." Her eyes softened in a way that hit me right in the chest. "I do not like that idea either," she said quietly. I let out a breath I did not realize I had been holding. "But," she added, and the word was gentle, not sharp, "we have to be careful. You know that. This is my job. People talk. And you are young, even if you do not feel like it." "I am not asking to move in or something," I said, a nervous laugh slipping out. "I am just asking if we can see what this is without pretending it is not there." She studied my face for a long moment, like she was checking her mirrors before a big lane change. "Let us get you through the test first," she said. "Then, if you still feel this way, we will talk. No secrets, no rushing. We ease into it. Deal?" I nodded, my chest tight but lighter. Deal. The day of the test came fast. I barely slept the night before. My brain kept replaying everything. The hill. The coffee shop. Her hand resting near the emergency brake. Her voice saying my name like she meant it. At the DMV, everything smelled like paper and old carpet. The examiner was a woman in her 50s, with tired eyes and a serious mouth. Claire stood off to the side near the parking lot, arms crossed, watching as I pulled the school car around. "You got this," she mouthed as I rolled past. The test was a blur. Stop signs, lane changes, a parallel park that felt like threading a needle while someone judged your every breath. I heard the examiner's directions and Claire's voice layered over them in my head. "Look ahead, not just at the car in front of you. Trust your instincts. Ease into it." When it was over, we were back in the DMV lot. The examiner scribbled on her form, then looked at me. "Well," she said, "you passed." For a second, I thought I heard her wrong. Then the words landed. I passed. My hands shook a little on the wheel. I thanked her, probably too many times, and parked where Claire waited. She was walking toward the car before I'd even turned it off. "Well?" she asked, eyes searching my face. I held up the paper, a grin breaking across my face. "I did it." She laughed, real and bright, and for the first time since I met her, she looked a little unguarded. "I knew you would," she said. "No," I said. "You hoped." I panicked. That is how this worked. She shook her head, her eyes shining. "Give yourself some credit, Ryan." We stood there in the DMV lot, the world moving around us, people going in and out of the building, cars pulling in and out of spaces. For a moment, it all felt far away. "So," I said, "this is the part where the instructor says goodbye and vanishes in a puff of smoke, right?" "Is that what you want?" she asked. "No," I said, the word leaving my mouth before I could soften it. "Not at all." Something like relief flickered across her face. She glanced around, then back at me. "Do you have your own car yet?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "Saving up. For now, I am just a licensed bus rider." Her smile curved. "Come on," she said. "I will give you a ride home. Then maybe we can talk like two people, not just teacher and student." The drive to my place was quiet, but not awkward. I sat in the passenger seat for the first time, watching her hands on the wheel, the way she checked her mirrors. She made it look effortless, but I knew now how much work it took. Outside my building, she parked and turned off the engine. The city noise filled in around us. "This is weird, right?" I said, a small laugh escaping. "Me here, you there. No clipboard between us." "A little," she admitted, but not in a bad way. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. "You asked if this was just about driving," she said. "For me, it is not. I like talking to you. I like the way you think. I like the way you try. even when you are scared. That is not something I feel with every student, or with many people at all, honestly. My heart hammered. I like you too, I said. Not just because you taught me how to drive, because of who you are, how you have rebuilt your life, how you treat people, how you treat me. She took a slow breath. If we do this, she said carefully, it has to be slow. No secret meetings between lessons, no pretending you still need extra hours just to see me. You are not my student anymore. That line is clear now. We can meet as two adults. But we have to be honest with each other. And if at any point this feels like too much, we stop. No guilt, no drama. I can do slow, I said. I am kind of built for slow. She smiled, the tension in her shoulders easing. Okay then, she said. So here is my question, not as your instructor, as Claire. Shoot, I said. Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? She asked. Somewhere that is not a parking lot or a coffee shop next to a print place. I felt something loosen inside me. Yes, I said. I would really like that. She nodded, like she had expected the answer but needed to hear it anyway. Good, she said. Text me your favorite kind of food. We will ease into the rest. Quote. She reached out then, slow enough that I could have moved away if I wanted to. I did not. Her hand found mine between the seats, fingers curling around my knuckles. It was simple, no fireworks, just warm and real. Congratulations, Ryan, she said softly, on more than just the license. I squeezed her hand back. You too, I said. On letting someone else in the passenger seat for once. She laughed, and the sound wrapped around us like a soft blanket. When I stepped out of the car and watched her drive away, the city felt different. Bigger, but less scary. The road ahead was still full of things I did not know. Traffic, detours, maybe fights, maybe nights where we would doubt if we were doing the right thing. But for the first time in a long time, I was not trying to slam my way into the next chapter. I was easing into it, one careful move at a time, and I was not doing it alone.